Last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder defeated the LA Lakers 101-93. I watched this whole entire game, and I have to say the Thunder made LeBron James old again. One thing I have to say about LeBron is at times I think people forget that he is really up there in age due to him still being in great shape physically and still being able to show a lot of his athletic abilities even at his current age. It doesn't always feel like LeBron is a 40-year-old man. He will turn 40 in the next few weeks. So I'm just rounding up right now, but sometimes people tend to forget that he's actually that old now, and he's able to disguise it a lot because he can still get a lot. He can do a lot on the offensive end to mask his aging. That he can still be able to get to the hole and finish a lot of times. But you do see it at times, even on the offensive end, he's not as quick as he used to be, or he can't do it on every possession, just drive by guys. And that has a lot to do with aging. He may still have a good enough first step, but the fact that he can't drive by on every possession relentlessly is a sign of aging, for example, because once you're older, you have to conserve your energy. You may be able to do things in spurts that you were able to do when you were younger consistently, but you can't do it every single time, doing certain things. And I think that was shown in this game a lot, especially when LeBron was driving to the hole. One thing I've noticed is that every time he drove to the hole, it seemed like he was getting stripped or he was just forced into a bad position. A few times I felt there were questionable fouls on the defenders for OKC, that they had good strips, but they were called for fouls. But LeBron was just struggling. He couldn't really get into the paint to finish a lot of times effectively. You could see the frustration on his face. And on top of that, OKC has a great rim protector in Isaiah Hartenstein. So that's another formula that works against LeBron. Even when he was young, I felt the teams that gave LeBron the most problems were teams that had a great interior defender along with a great perimeter defender. For example, the Celtics with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, just those guys, they gave him a lot of problems. And James Posey back when he was a good defender. And then you had the Spurs with Tim Duncan, Bruce Bowen, and then Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard. Those are teams that always gave him problems when he was in his youth. But I feel now if you have that type of setup, it's even magnified now that LeBron's a lot older because he doesn't have his great athleticism to rely on every possession or the stamina to deal with that type of setup. So OKC is set up like that. They have like several athletic perimeter defenders that they can throw at LeBron, and then you have Isaiah in the paint waiting for him, and it just makes the game very, very difficult for him, and he gets exploited just like he did tonight. Like a lot of times he would get stripped, or if he's in the paint, he just can't finish, or he's forced to throw a bad pass. Just he has to react quickly due to the quick speed of the OKC defenders that forces him into a bad pass. So he only has like a split second to make a decision, even though he's a high basketball IQ. That is still very difficult for him to react to that type of defense at this age because his body is slower. And I think the other thing that OKC exposes this game with LeBron is that LeBron cannot really play a fast pace at his age. Just OKC is a team that they can increase the pace. They're very quick. They're a running gun type of team. And I've noticed whenever OKC was able to get out on the floor and play that style, they would just take over the game. There were stretches in the game where the Lakers were able to slow down the game, and that's why they were able to remain in it. And I think at one point take the lead. But once OKC would get a stretch of a few possessions where they could just outrun the Lakers, they would just immediately take control of the game again. So I think that's one thing that has a lot to do with LeBron because the Lakers can't play a very quick pace because LeBron can't play it. So they're at a handicap. This is another reason why they can't win a title, just because there are just enough teams out there that can just push the pace and pretty much they're finished. I felt that was the case with them playing the Nuggets, that once the Nuggets were able to push the pace, they were pretty much cooked. And that was the same thing in this game. The other thing that exposes LeBron's age is just his defense. But that's something people don't pay attention to a lot. But his defense is terrible at this age. Just he's not good at switching over on guys. and closing in on them. And he's just like a turnstile on the defensive end. I know every now and then he'll get his chase down blocks, but outside of that, just in a set offense defensively, he's not good at rotating anymore, and that gets exposed. Sure, LeBron, I would say, will be able to pad his stats throughout the season. You'll see that he's averaging over 20 points on great efficiency. But what a lot of people don't see is LeBron has lost a lot of other things. Yeah, like I mentioned, just his athletic ability is declining, and he can still get easy points through the flow of the game because of his big body. Just he's massive. He's always going to get easy points. Excuse me. He's always going to get easy points in the paint due to his massive size and just being just physically built like a truck. That he's going to get those easy buckets throughout a game, but it's not going to be enough because there's stretches in the game where if he's playing against a good defense, they could pretty much stop him from dominating the game. And I think that's the biggest thing. LeBron cannot dominate a game like he was able to do when he was younger. He can still get his numbers, but he can't dominate like an MVP player. And I think that's the biggest weakness that's going to hold him back throughout this season. Obviously, he's never going to admit that he's aging, and he's going to try to stretch this as long as he can. But I think eventually he will, retire once he starts to get more and more exposed and the Lakers lose more and more games. It's going to be harder and harder to mask like they've been masking the last few years, especially with Anthony Davis's great start. I think it'll become more evident that LeBron's selfish because the last 2 games, Anthony Davis has not dominated. Last night, he only had 10 field goal attempts, and you could attribute a lot of that to LeBron, just not setting him up for easy buckets. But that's all I have to say about this.